Hey, welcome back once again. So today is my pull for this week. So this is gonna be a pretty short video since I only picked up one new book and one back issue. But before we get to that, I wanna show this again. X-Men number one, 39. Now, I got this, last week, exactly a week ago, and I'm pretty excited about getting this book, as I mentioned before, my uh, about a couple of videos ago. Um, yeah, it's like this is like a big book for me, I guess. So now I'm just trying to, you know, get thinking of getting one issue 129, which is Kitty Pryde's first appearance. And speaking of which, my next retro review will be the Dark Phoenix Saga. So, I'll be posting that up, maybe next week or the week after. I'm very happy about this, I was really want to display this book for some reason. I mean, I've got tons of, I've gotten a few Silver Age books, but for some reason this and a couple of Golden Age books as well. Uh, late 40s, early 50s. But for some reason I love this book. I mean, I just want to find some place to actually display it or something. I just don't want to put it inside a box. Anyways, so yeah, you know, um, so yeah, I mean, there are quite a few books that I would think would be sort of like my holy grails, or um, by the way, that's my dog barking. He wants to go in, but it's kind of early for her. Anyways, as I was saying, there are quite a few books that I would, put in my list sort of as big Holy Grail books, big key books for me. One of them would be Action Comics number 252, the first appearance of Supergirl. I actually have a reprint of that, but I would love to get the original issue. And right now with 139, I would really like to have 129 as well. You know, I've seen a few of those, but most of the time they're like CGC, so I don't really go for that. Actually, despite the fact that I've read the story through the Dark Phoenix trade paperback, um, to me that comic is not just the story, but in what's inside, the ads, the letters pages. So maybe this Christmas I'll probably try getting a copy for the holidays. That'd be another Christmas present for me of Uncanny X-Men 129. Anyways, like I said, very short haul. The only new book I got was Superman Wonder Woman number one. And this book, it's got an awesome cover which I knew about, which kind of opens up. Sorry for the glare, like that. Um, sorry for um, uh, this book was controversial since it was announced 3 months ago actually. Because people would be talking about what they thought the book was going to be instead of what it is. A lot of speculation. Some really bad comment. I've heard some really bad comments about the whole idea, and I mentioned before, uh, an idea may sound it's not good or bad. It's just a concept. The way that concept develops, then It could be bad or good, you know. And again, that would also be relative. So yeah, I used to hear, so you know, a lot of things that people thought the book was going to be. Was it going to be a more romance type of book, or more superhero? A lot of people aren't really happy with the whole Superman Wonder Woman pairing. You know, in the end though, these are comic books, so nothing lasts forever, and when the story plays itself out, something else will come. But for the meantime, this book was originally announced as a continuation to the exploration of the Superman Wonder Woman romance, which started about a year ago with Justice League number 12. And you know it sort of kind of moved on very slowly from Justice League, Superman, the Superman books, by Scott Abdel. They kind of touched upon that a little bit, when he was starting out his run as well, been a few months ago. In fact, not so much, well, a little bit throughout Hell on Earth storyline. At the beginning of the current storyline as well, you kind of got a little bit of that a few months ago. So it's been slowly, kind of moving along. And so this book would pretty much focus on that. But, it's not just the romance book. It's actually a very superhero book as well. But a lot of people, I've really heard some very nasty comments about it, from certain people here in Mexico. There's a radio show here that goes online, every Wednesday. And, somebody asked, the host what he thought about the whole thing, and he just went on and started doing some, really weird speech about, Wonder Woman doesn't need to be defined by Superman and whatever. But the story in this issue, for the most part, it's kind of a setup, if you will, setting up the big arc. I actually liked what was being done here, in fact, because what we get here right off the bat, is the classic comparison between Wonder Woman and Superman. Sort of like what Batman, Superman, and before that the Superman Batman book did and do, which is kind of compare and contrast Batman with Superman. Here you kind of get a compare and contrast between Superman and Wonder Woman. So you get a bit of that, which is in the more personal sense, if you will, of them. How Wonder Woman sees this relationship she's having with Superman as Super as she wants it to be more public. Superman, well, he doesn't really want to, and so you kind of get to see Superman is more of a private person. Clark is more of a private person in a sense, while Wonder Woman would be more outgoing, I guess. So you get the little comparisons there, but at the same time, while we seeing the more personal stuff, if you will, and a book like the X-Men, for example, they usually, like the X-Men, they usually kind of have this whole uh, soap opera thing, I guess, very soap operatic. Marvel, is very soap operatic. So, I think you should consider that as, and comics should have a little bit of that as well. DC. I think DC sort of has been putting, the more personal side of the heroes a little bit more off, like they used to do back in the Silver Age, which was more about the hero than what's really going on in their lives. So this for me was a bit of a change of pace, if you will. I mean, the more interesting aspects for me of for any comic book should be, more about who the hero is than, the whole action thing. And, that's why, Marvel was a big hit back in the day, cause, they took what was going on with the hero's personal life that you liked, and, that's where, our reader was identified themselves with the hero because they saw them as having, the same types of problems that we had. You can see it, especially in Spider-Man. Stan, I think sometimes the more interesting parts were not so much about Spider-Man, but about Peter Parker. So, anyways, back to Superman, Wonder Woman. So you get that little compare and contrast through the personal aspect, but you also get an action story. So Superman and Wonder Woman are are in the middle of, I think, near, I guess, I'm not sure if it's like the North Atlantic somewhere. Let me check because I'm not sure about that. Um, Here we go then. Yeah, the North Atlantic, I was right. Because there's a report of a storm, and so Superman and Wonder Woman head there to see if they can help. So while Superman handles the storm, um, Wonder Woman goes to help a ship, an airplane that's been caught there. So strangely, there's something weird's going on with the storm, especially with the storm right in the center of the storm. And while Wonder Woman is saving the airplane, whatever is in the water shoots Superman up. He crashes through the plane that Wonder Woman was saving. Uh, Fortunately, Superman is able to save the pilot. Wonder Woman saves the pilots, and Superman takes them to safety. At the same time, Norwegian, I guess, Navy ship attacks Wonder Woman because they think, Superman and Wonder Woman ended up, destroying the airplane, which it would seem that way, but, whatever you see, you really can't tell. So just start shooting. So Wonder Woman being Wonder Woman, and that's what I love as well from Charles Soule or Soule. So, he keeps the characterizations true to the characters, and Wonder Woman has been shown to have a bit of a temper at times. So she lands on the ship and is trying to stop them from shooting. I think she kind of bends the guns, uh, and then and I won't spoil it this time like I did last time. Uh, uh, Surprise villain, if you will, or shows up at the end. Huge villain. Which, I mean, those 5 last pages are particularly cool. So you wanna find out, you should really pick this book up. I really enjoyed it. The art by Tony Daniel is it's amazing. A little bit different. I guess I'm not really saying very different, but different tone because Tony Daniel is known for doing more grittier, darker art. So here is all very bright. So the art is fantastic. We and the character bits are as well. very, very cool. So yeah, quite enjoyed it, and really, whatever people thought this book was going to be, you should try it, and you'll be surprised by it. So the um, back issue I got and is the Green Lantern 23.4, the Sinestro issue. Now I mentioned in my last video, in my last full video, because my last video was the retro review. The small shop I go to, that I've gone to for a long time now, almost for 13 years, saved me these most of the Superman and Green Lantern books. And not to get too much into repeating myself from the last time, I picked up, he saved I believe 5 issues, and I only picked up 3. I already showed the other 2, so I couldn't afford getting this one. So last week, so I asked him to hold it out for me for this week, so I picked it up. And I gotta say, thank God we finally got the origin of Sinestro. It was long overdue. Since I guess Geoff Johns did the Secret Origin arc, people were wondering when we would be getting, the Sinestro origin. And while this was not written by Johns, but by by Matt Kindt, it really just gets everything. It summarizes very well, who Sinestro is, and all the little things we've known of Sinestro since, since the beginning of Geoff Johns' run, pre-New 52. So everything, the whole foundation for Sinestro that Geoff Johns had laid out, it's all nicely summarized here. This is the 3D cover. So that's that for this week. Next week is also a very slow week for me, but I'll try to get so next week is gonna be a pretty slow week as well, which has me a bit worried, because pretty much the first 3 weeks have been kind of like that. So that means that the next that the last give me a second. So yeah, I mean, that means that most of my that's gonna get very heavy. Give me a second. I put some mail here. So yeah, so that, like I said, that's gonna get me worried, because that means that the last big week of October is gonna be very heavy, because this month's got 5 Wednesdays, so that's gonna be usually for the annuals that are coming out. Action Annual number 2 is coming out, setting up the next big Superman story arc. Aquaman Annual number 1 is coming out as well, with a story with issue dedicated to the others. I think I should just get them booked right next year, because there've been a few books that have focused on them. So anyways, I'm rambling on here. So yeah, so keep on the lookout for my retro review of of the Dark Phoenix saga. I'll that's gonna take a little bit of a while before it's gonna come out right after, probably sometime after my actual next week's pool video. So, cause I don't want to have way too many videos on. So I've been taking quite a bit now. So until next time, keep smiling.